What's up, guys? Walter here, and welcome to another episode of the Countdown Continued. I haven't been able to do one of these in a while, but I really had to do this one for the top 5 best Disney animated movie villains, which is up right now on Channel Awesome's YouTube page. There were 7 honorable mentions, and the one that just barely missed on the top 5 spot, the 5th spot, I really need to talk about, but we'll get to that character at the end here. We'll start with number 12 right now. The animated Jungle Book movie still holds up pretty well. I know a lot of people are talking about the live-action movie from last year, a couple years ago. But Shere Khan, he has a lot of similarities to Scar, I think, and I just think Scar was a much better version of that similar type of character, so I kind of put him a little bit lower on the list, but he's still definitely one of the best animated movie villains, so that's why he at least gets the number 12 spot on my top 12, I guess we'll call it. I love Beauty and the Beast. I named Belle and Beast as the best Disney animated movie couple when I did that top 5. But Gaston is a really interesting villain because he's kind of a wuss, but also just this big bully. And I love where he fights Beast at the end in the castle and everything. Him and his sidekick LeFou, yeah, they turned out pretty well together, but not quite top 5 material. So that's why he's number 11 out of 12. The Headless Horseman in the Ichabod Crane movie is actually really freaking scary, okay? I watched the clip of this when I was doing research, and man, I forgot how scary the Headless Horseman was. I think that the character in general, I know is like a folklore thing, of course, but Disney's version of him, I think, is actually really well done and really scary, kind of, especially for kids. When we have Ichabod Crane going through the forest and we start to hear the Headless Horseman said through the voice of, like, frogs and stuff, it's really ominous and pretty spooky, and then we actually see him, and it's really well done. I don't think he's talked about a lot because he's not really in the movie for that much, but I think that one scene was great. The Headless Horseman is definitely one of the top 10 best Disney animated movie villains in my opinion, and he fits in right at number 10. So for a long time, I just thought this was the devil. I think a lot of people thought that. Fantasia is amazing and a very unique film from Disney, obviously, and I think that he is a really terrifying villain. We see that he, is capturing all these souls and everything and basically throwing them to hell. And yeah, I think Chernabog is, obviously not that big of a villain in terms of screen time and things like that, but he's a big bad guy. I know he showed up in the Kingdom Hearts game too. I think people like that. So he has lasted a little bit longer than just that one-off appearance in Fantasia. But man, that is just beautifully animated. The score is obviously fantastic, and I really, really like Chernabog, and he fits in at number 9 on my top 12. James Woods voicing Hades from the Hercules movie is still one of the signature Disney villains because he's more funny. I mean, he's got a lot of great one-liners and things like that in there, and when he gets angry and the fire explodes out of his head, I think is a signature moment for that character. But Hercules, I don't think it's the best Disney animated movie, but I think that the villain is the most memorable part of it with Hades, so I think that he at least fits in somewhere on this top 12, and I think that at number 8 is a good spot for him. He's not quite top 5 material, but he is inching closer there as we get to the lower numbers here. You'll see that they just barely missed out on the top 5. Yeah, Hades is one of the best Disney animated movie villains, and I think that he might actually be better than the movie he's in. But yeah, I think that he fits in at number 8 pretty well. I love Captain Hook. I love Peter Pan. When I was a kid, my mom would tell me that I would replay the Peter Pan VHS so much that it would break. I love Peter Pan. I love Captain Hook. I love Hook, the movie Hook. I love Dustin Hoffman's portrayal of James Hook in that movie, and obviously Robin Williams. If you want to check out my top 5 or top 10, it was a 2-parter, Robin Williams performances. That's up on Channel Awesome as well, and I talk a little bit about that. But yeah, in this movie particularly, this is my first exposure to Captain Hook, and the Legend of Peter Pan was through the Disney movie, and Captain Hook is always going to hold a special place in my heart, and he had to at least be close to the top 5, which he was, coming in at number 7. So Captain Hook will always be a big part of villains when I just think of villains, and when I was younger, Captain Hook was like one of the main bad guys that I could think of. So yeah, he just barely fit in at number 7 and just barely missed out at the top 5 spot. I went back and forth so many times on either Cruella or Maleficent as number 5 on my top 5 list, man. It was so close between these two. I literally went back and forth. There was a long time where I was saying, yeah, Maleficent definitely has number 5, but then Cruella just barely beat her out. I think because Cruella is just a little bit more iconic with her song and everything. I mean, she's in the public lexicon, I think, with Cruella is kind of a term that we use to describe someone. So yeah, I think that Cruella just barely inched out Maleficent, but I felt really bad about leaving Maleficent off because she is definitely one of the classic Disney villains. Sleeping Beauty, I don't know if it holds up all that well nowadays, but Maleficent, obviously her popularity hasn't waned because they just made that movie, you know, whether you like it or not, with Angelina Jolie from a few years ago. So Maleficent is, I mean, she talks about hell and stuff in her dialogue. She's like the manifestation of evil and all this stuff. I know they made her a little bit more sympathetic in the movie, but in Sleeping Beauty, the animated movie, I mean, she turns into a giant dragon at the end. It's like classic stuff, and I felt really bad. I was considering tying her and Cruella, but I really try not to do that as much as possible on top 5. So I just barely, just a sliver, missed out on the top 5, did Maleficent. So those are my top 12, we can call it. Thank you guys for watching this episode of The Countdown Continued. I will be putting up that video about Jumanji 95 versus Jumanji 17 pretty soon. I just had a lot of stuff going on this week, and hopefully I'll be able to get that out to you guys within the next couple days. But make sure you check out Top 5 next week, because we will be going back to actors for this next one. So it's an actor that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I'm pretty sure you guys will like this one. So make sure you go ahead and check out the Top 5 best Disney animated movie villains over on Channel Awesome. If you haven't, you should have been watching that first before you came here anyway. But go ahead and check that out, and I'll see you on Top 5 over there on Tuesday and back on here real soon. Talk to you guys later.